All right, my name is Bart Isley. I'm here with Scrimmage Play. This is a new format for the Scrimmage Play podcast. We're calling it the panel, and we are going to break down, while we all wait for total sports to come back around, we're going to break down the top 10 players in the last decade of Scrimmage Play. So kids that graduated in the class of 2020 all the way back to the class of 2010. And we're going to, this one right here, this panel, is going to be about girls soccer. And we brought on some expertise because we need the expertise to be able to get it done. And we've got a number of people to help us out. So we've got Gradham Academy's Price Thomas. Price spends a lot of time training some of the area's best young soccer players. And then we've got Western Albemarle's Jake Desch, head coach for the Warriors. Won some state titles over the last few years. And then we've got another state title winning coach in Coach Amy Sherrill from Albemarle. All these folks know a lot more about soccer than I do, which is why they're here and why we're going to break this down with them. But we've gotten together over the last few weeks. We've had some emails exchanged. We've had a Google Doc that we've been working on. It's a little bit low tech, but we're going to make it work. Breaking down and kind of exploring the kids that we thought were candidates. And some of these folks aren't kids now. They're adults with good jobs, and they're doing really well because this spans 10 years and a lot can happen in that time. So we're really excited to kind of look at this. Ton of kids that we've kind of considered and worked through, and we've narrowed it down to 10 folks. But we want to start with the physical therapy at ACAC lock of the list. This is one kid that unequivocally we thought just was a kid that we all agreed was on the list, and it's Hannah Keith from Monticello. She was all-state as a junior and senior, strong backline defender, 3-year starter at William & Mary when she went to college. Jake, you can speak to this first. You know, what did Hannah Keith bring to the table? What made her tough to play against?
It was her versatility and where she could play. I mean, she's naturally a defender, but she had enough skill, especially at the high school level, that she could be dominant at a center mid and probably even got into the attack for Monticello. But she was such a smart player as well. She read the game so well, and she was just tough to break down. No matter what we threw at her, she was always there to stop all of our counterattacks, all of our attacks in general. And, you know, she was a lot of fun to watch, a lot of, you know, tough to coach against, but really, really an excellent player.
Amy, you got to coach against her for several years. You got to see Hannah Keith, a really rugged defender.
Yeah, for sure. You know, we're very fortunate to throw some potent offense at her. And, you know, she was there like a wall every single time. And it was frustrating for our players to face her game after game. And, you know, for us, it was strategically trying to break her down, pull her out of position, which, you know, like Jake said, she was a very smart player. And so she read the game very well and was able to be that coach on the field to bring her team up. So very, very good leadership from the back. And like you said, strong collegiate player as well.
So that's our physical therapy at ACAC, lock of the list, Hannah Keith from Monticello, a stalwart defender. And you got to be a darn good defender to make it on this list, because we've got a ton of goal scorers, a ton of people that have stepped up, but another backline player. And I would say that it's tough to argue against her as the best goalie over the last 10 years. Amy, a really special player for you, Ayanna Tyler-Cooper. She was the 2017 State Player of the Year on a state title team, which, again, very tough to do if you're a keeper. And arguably, I wrote it. I already said it. I think she's the consensus top 10 keeper in the last 10 years. She's been all conference at UNC Greensboro. Just a tremendous kid. And, you know, I'm sure you've got a ton of stories about what Ayanna was able to do for you guys.
Well, just to watch her grow was the biggest thing for us, and for her to come into who she is as a player and as a human being. You know, she's a phenomenal kid, but you know, I think you or Ryan tagged her one game as, you know, a walk-in shutout. You know, in her career, a span of 3 years on varsity, over 40 shutouts, and just that, you know, she had some good people in front of her, but at the end of the day, she had to make the saves. and she had to come up with those big stops, and she would time and time again. Left-footed, so that's something unique for a goalkeeper to be able to bring, which was fun because when she's reading the play, she's kind of that left side dominant, which is obviously the other side, other people's dominant side. So she's very strong, loud, vocal leadership was on par as well. So not surprised that she's done incredible things at UNCG in her last year there.
One of the kids, she just stood out to me. There was one big moment. I don't remember. I think it was that she got stuck with a PK, and she jumps up and she's screaming and yelling. That was a big playoff game. She would go these whole games during the regular season where she just wouldn't have to make many saves, but then immediately when you guys hit the playoffs, really had to jump things up a notch, and she did it in that moment.
Absolutely. I mean, a huge game against Briarwoods, which we always see in the postseason, that has great soccer. And, she's facing, a girl that's going to play at JMU, and she just makes that stop and shifts the whole momentum of that game for us. And really, really just strong kid.
Jake, what made it tough for your offensive players when they were kind of squaring off with Ayanna?
Well, I mean, playing against Amy's team is it's always tough. So it's but I think to her credit, it was her overall confidence. Like she was imposing. I mean, our players knew that if we were, even when we build up our best attack and got shots, I mean, they're gonna have to be perfect shots to beat her.
Yeah, obviously Ayanna Tyler-Cooper, tremendous player, and an easy choice for this. A lot of these were easy choices. There were some tough choices to leave off, but all these players are very deserving. One of these, it's kind of an interesting case, is Anna Sumter from Western Albemarle. She's our third player on the list. And Sumter is interesting because we saw one full year of Anna Sumter. We saw 30 goals and All-State as a freshman. The quote that I pulled from one of our game stories was Fernando Opere suggested she was from the sky, that she was some kind of soccer angel that was there to kind of tear things up, but then ran into so many injuries the rest of her career, and then broke into the rotation and eventually started at UVA, is still playing at UVA now. Anna Sumter is one that's tough. It's tough to leave her off just because of the pure potential and the pure impact and the way that she continued to have an impact even when she was hurt. Jake, you can start with Anna. She's obviously just a tremendous talent.
Yeah. Yeah, she's very, very talented. Arguably one of the most talented players to come out of the Charlottesville, Central Virginia region. But beyond that, I think what her legacy, I mean, because, obviously she couldn't play for a lot of those years through injury, was her leadership and her work ethic. I mean, that's going to be her legacy. I don't know many athletes that have gone through what she's gone through, and yet she was always positive. She always made sure she was the hardest working person on our team, whether she was on crutches or in a huge cast that went from her hip down to her ankle. She was pushing everyone and leading by example, and she makes everyone better, whoever she encounters, whether it's teammates, it's coaches, it's just other peers. She wants to be the best, and she pushes everyone to be the best.
Price, you've gotten a chance to work with Anna, and Jake touched on it. I mean, her work ethic's pretty incredible. Just an incredibly hardworking, tough kid. How impressed have you been with kind of her mentality?
Yeah, I think I've said this before and probably said it to her. I mean, if I, as someone who played sports for a long time, encountered even sort of half of the physical setbacks that she had before she turned 18, I would have packed it in and just done something else ages ago, right? And I mean, I think that I say that glibly, but honest to Christ, I mean, the fortitude of such a young player who's had what you can really account to just like bad luck. She wasn't reckless. It wasn't like she was doing a bunch of stuff she wasn't supposed to. It was just really bad luck. And to have that and to see that and to sort of continue to navigate her way into a first name on the team sheet for arguably the best team in the country, pretty remarkable story. And I think that because we all know her, I think we're just kind of like, yeah, it's just like what she does, you know. But I think when you sort of unravel that, it's kind of wild and it's kind of remarkable. And to think about sort of, you know, let's be honest, the relationship that the university has with the scene here. I mean, for her to achieve that level is really, really impressive, and just continue to do that. And like I said, I mean, you know, to still be one of the first 2-3 names on Steve's sheet even today is remarkable, you know. And she has really that kind of, I mean, you know, when you talk about, you know, kind of what it takes, and when I speak to younger players about kind of what it takes to be really good, I mean, she's obviously a great example of just like the right type of appetite, right? That just like there's always the next thing, you know, you can always get better at something. And she was like, you know, she's grown now, and you know, and we saw her, you know, 3-4 times a week over the summer. She could have been doing anything else, you know, and she's out there before her summer classes at 6:15 in the morning, you know, even still today, you know. And so I think that just sort of kind of, I mean, that's something that is, you know, that if I had even a third of like that motivation as a kid, Christ almighty, you know. So just to have, you know, to have that, and again, to power through what she's been through, I obviously think incredibly highly of her. And she is an incredible kind of, you know, I mean, man, if we could just see her for a full year, a full 18 months, I mean, she's immensely talented. And
most of this list, we're definitely considering what happened in high school. But what happened in high school with Anna was brilliant. It was short, but it was brilliant, and special. So I think that one to me is a, like Jake said, I mean, the leadership, the work ethic, those are the things that really stand out, and made her pretty special. So this list is on. Look, it's our list. We're going to make it up. It's going to include some intangible stuff. All right. We're excited about intangibles over here. So another player, this one is a little tougher for you guys to talk about, as far as the whole panel goes. But you know, she plays, you know, private school, played private school soccer, so it makes it a little tougher for you guys to see her in the public ranks. But Lacey Irvin, who played at Tandem Friends, 2-time state player of the year, 2010 and 2012, led them to state titles. She was 3rd team all CAA at William and Mary. Lacey was scoring goals constantly in high school, just throwing up huge numbers, 4 or 5 goal games. Unequivocally the best player in Tandem Friends history. Just a real standout, and she really transformed what that program did, and made it a really special one. But Lacey Irvin definitely on this list. Another one that is exciting to talk about, because we just saw what she did, and it's not very often that a player can lead her program to 3 state titles, and be 1st team All-State twice, state player of the year, runner-up. Julia Berg from Western Almar. This is one of Jake's favorites, one of Amy's favorites as well. When she looks outside her own program, let's let Amy start. Julia Berg, just a incredibly versatile athlete.
You know, I said this before, but I was so looking forward to this spring to not have to play against Julia Berg in the highest regards. Like, truly. She was so incredibly tough to coach against. And that speaks on Jake, just because I never knew where she was going to end up, whether it was going against our back line, battling in the center mid, or trying to get through the defensive end. And so, I mean, just incredibly versatile. Obviously, you know, I think defense is more her niche, but just a great player, hard to beat, and just really, really nice. Which, you know, just speaks volume of her character and who she is.
Jake, you got Julia for a number of years, was a true cornerstone type player for you. You know, what did she kind of mean to the program?
Well, so we kind of labeled Julia as, she was just always cool. She was never got rattled. She was going to play the way, you know, her game, which was, you know, she's super talented, but she never got sped up. She was never overwhelmed. She had this inner confidence in herself. And I think that, you know, went a long way. She's not an outspoken person or player, but she led by example. And we always knew what we were going to get with Julia. And we always knew we could put her in the toughest situations because she was cool. You know, we could put her against Amy's, you know, best attacker, and she was going to go and do her best to slow her down, and usually she won. But, you know, we could put her in, you know, if we needed to play center mid, forward, you know, she just said, yes, I can do it. She knew she could do it, and she went and accomplished what we needed to get done. So we called her the cool girl, but she was just really, really talented and really fun to be with. Like Amy said, she's so nice, and she's the kind of kid that every coach wants to coach.
So another one that we got, it's Julia Berg was all over the place, 3 state titles. Another one that comes to mind, more in that Anna Sumter vein, a player that had to bounce back from an injury, had a tremendous career still, and a special one for Price Thomas to talk about, Carmen Thomas from Albemarle. She was injured as a junior. She was second team All-State as a senior while scoring 18 goals, standout at JMU. Carmen brought a lot of different skills to the table and is a very special player over these last 10 years. Price.
Yeah, I mean,
you can say some things about your sister. I'm sure.
I could tell you some other stuff about her too. Save that for the sort of the outtakes. I mean, I think this most special part about, I mean, obviously about her to me is that I got to see, you know, a lot of these kids we talk about as, you know, when I watch them as, you know, either a player or a coach or, you know, and I'm trying to break it down, and, you know, the 3 of us are texting and talking and doing this whole thing. It was really cool to watch her as just her brother and just to be a fan, you know, and she would ask me questions and we would, you know, sort of chop it up. But more than anything, it was really important to me just to be a fan, you know, and just to you know, be someone who was able to watch her grow and to sort of let her, you know, figure out sort of her, you know, love for the game and what she wanted to do and how far she wanted to take it. And I made a point very young, kind of as my career was winding down, to tell her, like, look, you know, you don't have to do this either, you know, because of me or because you think it's like this has to be your thing. And I think what was, you know, really sort of fulfilling and sort of a proud thing for me as an older brother was not only to watch her as she, you know, bounced back. She had 2 ACLs over the course of really 6 or 7 years, but her was always just sort of the most mature person I've met, you know, and even just growing up was always like that, you know. And so, you know, I think that, you know, you saw that translate into the college game. You saw a huge culture shift in that locker room, right? You know, sort of through her sophomore, junior, senior year, right? When, you know, she was able to make it more of her team. And even when she wasn't playing, you know, you could kind of tell that the vibe had changed. And so, I mean, on the field, was a ridiculous athlete, and I always joke is a much better athlete than I am. But, you know, was just intangibly a remarkable kid who I obviously think very highly about and will insult later in the show.
Hey, Amy, you got a chance to coach her. Carmen Thomas was tremendous. You know, it wasn't just speed with her. It was a lot of things. It was a lot of heady type plays. A really smart player for you.
Yeah, I mean, she was someone that you always wanted on the field. Obviously, you know, she's extremely gifted soccer-wise, you know, with her skill set and her athleticism. But what she brought to Albemarle girls soccer was just her competitiveness. And that edge is so contagious. It's something that every day, you know, she's coming to practice ready to fight and ready to grind. And it's either join me or get out. And when you have your team all buy into that because one person is that competitive, that's Carmen Thomas, and that's her leadership. And we saw it at Albemarle, and everybody thankfully jumped on board. And, you know, like Price said, she did the same thing at the collegiate level. So thankfully it's kind of ingrained in who she is as a person. And we are very thankful that she was at Albemarle High School.
I waited until later in the show to admit it, but this list is going to have 11, and we're going to get to 11. Yeah, and I know it's top 10, whatever. Like, again, we're making the rules, so we're going to stick another one on there and make things interesting. But the next one that has to be on this list to me, and this is one that, again, is tough for you guys to talk about because you didn't get a chance to see her that much, is Haley Kent, who played at St. Anne's Belfield. 2014 Division I State Player of the Year, All LIS and All State 3 times. Haley was just an incredibly important player. Her and Kylie Hedgemeyer, that came along at the same time, were just incredibly important at taking stab from maybe a mid-tier team in the state to a state title contender. They won a title with those two, and Haley was a big reason why. She was ready to play center midfield right from the jump. She took off as a freshman and just played really well. She was also a really good basketball player. before, sort of moving more towards soccer centric later in her career. But Haley Kent could just play, tremendously heady athlete, really smart kid, and played really well, and just was a transformative player for that program, and led him to a state title. Haley Kent, she went on to William and Mary, played awfully well for William and Mary too. We got a lot of these William and Mary type folks on here, and that's a good thing, I guess. I think Price, is that a good thing? I guess maybe
it's a great thing. All these Charlottesville Diamonds end up in Williamsburg.
A lot of tribe connections.
I'm taking blanket credit for that too, by the way.
Price Thomas, the original Charlottesville to Williamsburg pipeline was all Price Thomas. So
right, entirely, yeah.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
All I got was a Subway gift card as a kickback.
It's it. Come on, the community's giving you more, Price.
Times
the
are
community's
tough.
giving you more.
Yeah,
So Haley Kent, another one who's got to be on this list. And then we move into a couple of Almar players that I feel like are really exciting. And let's start with Jazzy Laredo, two-time Jefferson District Player of the Year in 2014 and 2015, played at Winthrop. Amy, tell us a little bit about what Jazzy kind of brought and changed about what you guys did as a program.
I think the most important part about Jazzy is just her work ethic. I mean, she was a workhorse. It didn't matter that, she was 5'0", battling there in the center mid and trying to receive a ball out of the air. She was going to win it, and she was going to dominate, and she was going to thread that needle to get it forward to find Carmen on the outside. That duo together was pretty special, but, Jazzy was our engine in the middle, and, she was relentless. She just didn't let up, which was very hard to stop.
Jake, what was tough about Jazzy Laredo? Yeah, obviously a talented player.
Yeah, she was a lot of fun to watch. And I think what Amy said was, her work ethic, but you could just tell she was a competitor. I think she'd be the kind of person I'd love to play against, because I think we would go shoulder to shoulder and she wouldn't let me push her over, and she'd try to push me over and she'd probably win. But she worked hard, and yeah, she was a grinder, but she also had, she had the skill, and she knew the game, and she would swing the ball when Amy would yell, switch the play, and she could take a touch outside the foot and swing the ball and have us reeling on defense. So it was a great mix of, hard work, grinder, but also skill. And, she had the finesse that she could get around people and possess the ball and really control the game, which, every coach, I'm sure Amy would say, that's one of the most important things. You need that person to control the tempo. And I think Jazzy was that.
Another one that is an Almar player and, did a lot of different things, has like an interesting notch because she finished her career outside the area, but was so impactful while we're there. And I'm going to push it back to, it's an Almar player, but we're going to start with Jake, because we've heard him talk about Fizzy Gonzalez before, and what she kind of meant and what she changed. Jake, what was so special about Fizzy Gonzalez?
Yeah, so I've been around now coaching for a long time, pretty much this whole decade, and we've had some really talented players that we've already mentioned on this podcast. And I don't think Fizzy, necessarily is the most talented, but she is, to me, she's the player that's made the biggest impact. She took Albemarle from being a very, very good, great team to like almost there to like just superb team. And there hasn't been a player that's had such a positive effect on a team and that fast. She came onto the scene, and it's something that this area has not seen before. She had speed, she had power, but she read the play. She demanded the ball to be played through. She was taking off. She was anticipating, while the rest of our girls are just kind of waiting for the play to be done. And she knew where she wanted the ball. And if her teammates didn't get her the ball, I'm sure she let them have it. I let Amy speak to that. but she's a goal scorer. Every coach needs a goal scorer. Every team needs a goal scorer. She knew what she was.
She's a part of the 2017 Albemarle State Title Team, State Player of the Year runner-up, first team all everything that year. Amy, what was it that was unique and special about coaching Fizzy?
I think Jake spoke on this, but she played really well into her skill set, and she did her skill set very, very well. She can anticipate like nobody's seen before at this level. And then on the offensive end, her power with her right foot and her left foot are equal, and that's really unheard of at the high school level for us to see. And she had no fear. She was going to run through you. She was not going to back down. And she never seemed like she was tired, even though I might ask her if she needed a break, but she wanted it. However, she didn't show that, which I think the mental side of the game, that's super important. That you're not alluding to your opponent that I'm tired, I'm winded, I need a break. And she just was a very, very good, great player for us.
Price, you maybe got to see a little bit of Fizzy. What did you think of her game and what she kind of brought to the table?
Yeah, I have never seen anything like that before. Period. Ever. I mean, I remember I would joke with Amy, and it was just like it was almost funny to watch because it looked sometimes like you were watching one person who was sort of on fast forward and everybody else like who was trying hard enough to be moving that quickly but wasn't moving anywhere near that quickly. I mean, it was sort of a phenomenal display. And I mean, I think, look, in a situation like that, you have to give a ton of credit to the team and the coach for really sort of being able to wrangle someone like that who's so much better at a thing than everyone else, because it can become very one note, and it can just become, you can get lulled into this like, well, we'll just lob it up there and she'll go get it. And we get into this kind of like wacky thing that, works most of the time and then breaks down at the end. But, I think that the way that team was put together, they were able to capitalize on what she did well while also sort of staying true to what the team was supposed to do. But about her specifically, I mean, an absolute world beater. And I say this unequivocally, the best athlete I've maybe ever seen in person. And it was just, I remember the one game I watched that I would love watching these two guys against each other. And so I went out to Western and watched this game, and there's just like this hysterical moment of the ball's kind of bouncing and the center back very clearly and very confidently is going to get there because Fizz is on the other side of the field. And all of a sudden, just out of nowhere on like a 30-yard dead sprint, beats the girl with the ball by a full 10 yards. And it was just sort of in that moment kind of crystallized there's just a lot extra there. So yeah, I mean, she was incredibly entertaining. And again, as someone who loves watching soccer and is a fan, I mean, I would pay to watch her.
So we moved from the flashy, incredibly talented, like just ridiculously off the charts kid that stands out to a kid that transformed a program and also is known for playing ice hockey at the same time, a grinder of the first order in Sarah Grupp. I mean, for Western. I mean, just Jake, Sarah Grupp was a special, tough kid. What was it that kind of made Sarah Grupp an important player in the history of your program?
Well, I think for her, it was, she's a competitor. And the way we usually set up, we have one holding mid. We put a lot of responsibility on her, and she thrived on that. You tell her job is, like we said earlier, control the game, but also stop every team's counterattack or just an attack by almost any means necessary. If you win it cleanly or if you get some other person. And she loved getting some of that person. She was she's tall, almost 6 feet, maybe 5'10", super skinny, but she's so tough. And she brought that hockey player mentality on the field. And it was, again, kind of like what you said about some of the other players. She had the talent, but she also had the toughness. And it helped. It gave our team that, again, like I said before, that confidence to where we could really just focus on the attack, because we always knew that Sarah Grupp was going to pick up all, any mess that's going the other way on our defense. Sarah Grupp was going to be there to stop everything. But she was that, again, nice combination of talent, but really that toughness. And she just had this confidence that showed, it wasn't just inner confidence. It was, everyone knew she had this strut about her, and no one was going to get by her. No one was going to beat her up. And she dared anyone to do that.
Amy, I saw you nodding. Did you get a chance to coach against Sarah? She was in that sort of transition period, right?
Yeah, we did get to play against her a few times, and she just had that edge, like Jake's speaking to. She's just a bruiser. She never found a battle she didn't like. Very tough to beat and to try to get around. And those matches, early on were extremely close and competitive because she was back there.
So that gets us 10. Like I said, we're going 11. So we're going to just stick another one on here because we couldn't decide. We couldn't tie break this one. And this is an interesting one because this is the only player on the list that's a 2020 kid that didn't get a chance to play their senior year. So that body of work's got to be really good. And it is really good. VCU, Virginia Commonwealth University player now, Savannah Alexander, all Jefferson District, all state as a junior, 27 goals, 13 assists as a junior. Amy, let's start with you. I mean, Savannah Alexander, just an incredibly tough player who we didn't get a chance to see the whole thing by no fault of her own, and has to be on this list.
Definitely robbed of her senior year and that senior showcase that we wanted to see. But most decorated player to leave Albemarle girls soccer for sure. We're fortunate, that she had the foresight to kind of work with Price early on and get that training in so that she steps into VCU ready to compete right now. But for us, it just was so cool to watch her evolution as a player. We're someone that came in probably with not a ton of self-confidence and played like forward maybe, and we just kind of said I don't think this is your spot. And extremely coachable. We'll listen to what you have to say, kind of, meditate on it for a second and then go out there and do it. She wasn't afraid to fail. That doesn't mean she liked to fail, but she wasn't afraid to try. And, that makes her who she is. She will go into everything now. She's a force to be reckoned with, and we certainly miss her. We have a huge hole to fill now without her being there. But I think that, one of the greatest things for her is to end her high school career scoring a game-winning goal in the state finals.
Pretty good way to finish it off, no question. Price, you've gotten a chance to work closely with Savannah, over the years. What is it that makes her a special player?
Yeah, Savannah's great. She's Amy alluded to it, super versatile. I mean, as a player, yeah, I think started as some forward-ish combination of things, but I think that part of her sort of evolution as a kid too has been growing into, again, someone who is okay with the responsibility of leading a team and okay with the responsibility that, the coach puts on her to lead a team. And I think that it can be tough for kids. And I think some kids are naturally like that and some kids grow into it. And I think that for her to watch her grow into that and to grow, into that with a coach who's demanding, I think was good for her, and I think that, it served her incredibly well. And then also, I think that's something that's super impressive about her is, again, once we sort of had that talk and we were all kind of figuring out, does she want to keep playing and what does the arc of her career look like? The moment it really clicked for her that she wanted to keep playing, it was okay, 3 days a week at 6:30 in the morning. And it was, and you can see, especially in someone like her, it's really down to the work that she put in, and in her, rainy days, snowy days, cold, hot, whatever. She was committed to getting better, so we were obviously all really looking forward to watching her, in the spring and, now in the fall, and we'll get to see her at some point. But her sort of learning curve over the past 18 months has been incredibly rapid, and to see her pick up what she's picked up on and then obviously step into a program that's competing for like NCAA tournament places is super exciting. So, we're glad she's close by, and whenever the world gets back to normal, we'll be, heading down 64 to check her out.
It's awesome. So 11 players. We wanted 10. We got 11. I feel like we got pretty close. That's pretty good. And I really appreciate all of y'all taking the time to help us sort through this, help us figure this out, and talk about an incredible group of players. I think that Charlottesville soccer has been good for a long time, but these last 10 years have been really special for the sport, especially on the girls' side. Just tremendous growth, sort of an explosion of talent that we've had coming through here. So it's amazing to see and really exciting. And I appreciate you guys taking the time to work on this. And